Jackson, Spreecasting from the OC. I am very, very excited today to have one of the finest certified appellate specialists in the state of California with us today as my special guest. She also happens to be a personal friend of mine, and her name is Donna Bader. Donna, so glad to have you joining us today on Spreecast.
I'm very glad to be here.
We're going to talk about things that trial attorneys need to know in order to minimize their exposure on appeal or to completely avoid having their case get appealed by the other side. But before we do that, I want to share with some of our viewers a little bit more about you. And do I have your permission to do that?
Nothing too personal, but go ahead.
Donna's home telephone number is now. In all seriousness, it's a pleasure and a treat to have Donna here today. One of the reasons I am so keen on Donna's abilities and Donna's services as an appellate specialist is that over the years, Donna has literally helped my clients preserve millions and millions of dollars in trial verdicts that I've been able to achieve for them. In the appeal, during the appellate process, Donna has protected those verdicts and has allowed my clients to wrap up and conclude their cases in a fashion where they're happy with the results, and we've been able to protect their verdicts. And Donna, thank you for doing that. For those of you that don't know Donna, she's been practicing appellate law for more than 30 years in the state of California, and her practice is exclusively limited to civil appeals and writs with an emphasis on medical and legal malpractice and personal injury law. It's my understanding, Donna, that you've written over 350 appellate briefs and writ petitions, and that's saying something right there. That's a lot of years of practicing appellate law and writing, so I tip my hat to you, my friend. Donna is also the former editor-in-chief of Plaintiff Magazine, a publication that is distributed to over 5,000 Northern California lawyers, and it's my understanding that she's also the former editor-in-chief of Consumer Attorneys Association of Los Angeles, which puts out the monthly magazine called The Advocate. Donna also happens to be the author of my favorite how-to appellate book entitled An Appeal to Reason, and this is Donna's must-read book that I highly recommend everyone to get. It's the best appellate how-to book that I've ever seen with respect to something all trial lawyers need to read. So, Donna, I want to thank you for that. Welcome, Donna. It's good to see you today.
Thank you. I'm blushing.
And that's okay. And, you know, with video, blushing's not a bad thing. Everyone gets to see the face and the person behind all those winning appeals. So thanks for being with us today. Donna, before we get started, let me just, let me start off asking you the question, what is, if you can narrow it down, what's the most common problem or the most common issue you see trial attorneys make at the trial level that you're forced to deal with at the appellate level?
I think it's failing to object, and I think it goes back to when attorneys try their cases, they're not thinking about the appeal, they're thinking about the trial. They're thinking they're going to win, and they're focusing all their energies on that, but they have to think about somebody who's not in the room and what that person or the Court of Appeal is going to see, and they have to make all the proper steps, and usually the first one is objecting to evidence or documents or something, and making sure that's on the record.
Do you see this type of mistake happening more so in civil trials, criminal trials, or a combination of both?
Well, I really can't speak to criminal trials because I don't read the transcripts that much, but I see it an awful lot in civil cases. And sometimes you'll even talk to the trial attorney, and I'll ask, did you object? And the attorney will say, oh, I think I did, or I'm sure I did, and I read the transcript and it's just not there.
What are your thoughts with respect to sometimes in the middle of a trial, I'll purposefully not object to a question, or I'll not object to a piece of evidence because it has more to do with my trial strategy as opposed to me being concerned with a question being asked or a piece of evidence coming into evidence or not being allowed into evidence. How do you balance an attorney's interest in placing that objection during trial with trial strategy and or compromising their ability to succeed on appeal?
Well, I think it is a matter of strategy. I mean, if you object to everything, even the irrelevant things or the little minor points like where somebody went to school or things of that sort, I think you have the clear possibility you're going to upset the jury. Why is this attorney objecting so much? What's he trying to hide? I mean, isn't that part of the thought process when you make that decision of when to object?
It is, and I think the caveat is if that's the way I'm feeling a trial, that's the direction it's going, and I'm trying to develop rapport with my jury, yet on the other side of the coin, there's something that maybe in hindsight, 2020, in hindsight's 2020, you're looking at the appellate record and it's like, why didn't Mr. Jackson object to that during the trial? How can trial lawyers deal with those issues? In other words, the strategy of a trial versus protecting the record and not unnecessarily exposing yourself to a malpractice case on appeal. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think when you listen to the evidence or you present your case, you say, I absolutely have to get this in. So you're going to make an attempt to do that, or I absolutely have to keep this out, and that's when you have to object or you're going to waive the objection.
Okay. Let's do this real quick, Donna. Before I go into too many additional questions, I would like to share right below me is a link to an appealtoreason.com. That's Donna's blog and website. And I'd also like to encourage everyone to ask questions today. All right, and here's how you do it. On Spreecast, use the chat button below me,